Hey everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of album number 6 by Beyoncé, a pop star, huge success in the early 2000s, I think even the late 90s with her girl group Destiny's Child, broke out as a solo artist, saw a ton of success, known for her high-profile relationship with rapper Jay-Z, and in recent years has been involved with the rise and maybe eventual fall of Tidal, a streaming service that her husband pretty much just founded, launched, really got its name out there whenever he took over the company. And it's kind of ironic because this new album, Lemonade, is mainly about a relationship with Jay-Z. I mean, imagine how awkward that must have been. The meeting whenever he was getting played the album, like, oh, we got a Tidal exclusive for the first 24 or 48 hours or whatever it ends up being officially. And he's saying, you know what? This sounds like it could possibly be about... Oh, okay, yeah, this is definitely about me. Let's backpedal a little bit, because if you guys watch my channel, you know that I have spoken out against Beyoncé's music multiple times. I've just never found it to be that clever, entertaining, and especially her last album, the self-titled that everyone seemed to be raving about. I put my hands up, I put my fucking gun in my mouth, because that album was just so bad for me. And I know that's an unpopular opinion probably for a lot of people that are watching this video, but hold that thought. I did a complete 180 whenever I went into this record. I went into Lemonade expecting to not even really listen to it at first, and then I was like, you know what? Temptation and curiosity is just gonna get the best of me eventually. Let's go ahead and try it out. And as soon as I hit play, I listened for the first 30 minutes in kind of a silence, not knowing what to think, because I was just so blown away by what I was hearing. This is a woman on the edge, a woman who has been messed with, a woman who has clearly been cheated on, it seems like. And it's not all about her relationship with Jay-Z, it's her relationship with several different people. In fact, her father is the subject of one of these songs, Daddy Lessons, being a Western folk-leaning jam that I just never would have seen coming. Lord knows I didn't think I'd be saying this, but this album is stuffed full of some very smart lyrics, organic instrumentation that just really makes this album come to life. Everything from the synthesizer to the guitars, live drumming used on a lot of these tracks, organs, everything creeping its way in, making for such a well-rounded listen. It's got everything from the ballads of Pray You Catch Me, which is just a subtle hint saying, I hope that you find out that I'm going through your phone. I hope that you find out that I am listening in. I hope you know I am about to catch you in the act, motherfucker. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna react? Give me something here. You have everything from that to the angry, tenacious, don't hurt yourself. The collaboration with Jack White, which is one of the best collaborations I have heard in years. And this is honestly, no joke, my favorite song I have heard in 2016 so far. Holy shit, this is an anthem. It is so good. The first time that I heard it, and like I hit repeat, I could not take my ears off of it, if that makes sense. It's got this thrashing drum line, Beyoncé and Jack teaming up on the vocals, basically saying, whenever you do this, it also affects yourself. If you do this to me, if you go love yourself, if you go hurt yourself, don't do it to yourself, because if you're hurting me, you're hurting yourself. And it is just unmatched by its peers in just the seething rage that is pouring out here, especially whenever Beyoncé hits the pinnacle and says, don't you know who the fuck I am? She just screams that practically. And Jack White thrashing around with his vocals in the background as well. It was so good to see a male presence here on this track. And it just shows you how diverse this album truly is. It's not just about relationships. I don't want you to think that, but it is about a woman's journey through figuring things out, through self-empowerment, also through her relationships, where she stands, figuring out how to mend her relationship and go back on promises, but at the same way, not totally sell herself short of what she actually is. It's just so well done on nearly every level, from the production to the songwriting to the beats to the live instrumentation that was used. It's just, I'm a little bit speechless. Let's talk about some of the synth-driven songs that come near the start of this record, the first one being Hold Up. I love the playful and almost tropical vibe the song puts off, which is definitely a contrast to some of the lyrical content that comes through here. Diplo was one of the big producers that helped make this song possible, comes through with a really clean beat here, maybe inspired by some of the recent success of songs like Sorry by Justin Bieber, definitely not that upfront and catchy, but definitely taking like a chill, almost reggae meets pop vibe, adding in some of those sirens in the background, the air horn effects, if you will, those kind of coming through, and not normally something that I would be into, I wouldn't say, but it sounds fantastic here. A nice little sample of Maps by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, using the lyrics there, and even some of the lyrics from Turn My Swag On by Soulja Boy. Never thought that would sound good in a track, but combining everything together, it actually works, especially the sample of Maps. Whenever she's saying, hold on, they don't love you like I love you, she's saying, what's worse, jealous or crazy? I feel like I'm losing my mind right now, but the important thing to remember that all throughout this record, as much as Beyoncé gets pissed off, she never really seems to blame herself because she knows how strong she is as a woman. She knows that she didn't do anything wrong, and in fact, she's been by his side through the thick and thin, and she's taking things out on him, and it seems like that is completely a rational response to have here because infidelity is something that is just so hard to move on from. At the same time, you don't want to completely put someone in the past. You don't exactly know what to do with them, and she talks about this in detail on the ballad SANDCASTLES, which is just a fantastic tune about love and loss and these vows that they made and having to go back and retract a little bit because you don't want to move completely on from this relationship. You want to mend things because you were so invested in this person and you truly do love them. Getting back to the more synthesizer heavy tracks, I love the bumping synth line on the track Sorry, which pops up kind of near the middle of this record. Very interesting track. She almost seems kind of apathetic here at this point, basically saying, I'm not apologizing, I know I didn't do anything wrong, kind of repeating what I was saying just a second ago, and I'm gonna keep doing me. And I like that she takes this attitude and kind of applies it to several other tracks that I see here that aren't necessarily about a certain relationship or anything like that, but are more so about empowerment. One of those being a track that I feel like could apply to maybe every woman who is like everything from a stripper to a businesswoman to a singer-performer like Beyoncé herself. 6 Inch featuring The Weeknd is that track in question, and I think that Abel does a great job with his feature here. I wasn't a huge fan of Beauty Behind the Madness, as you guys might know if you saw my review, but there were a lot of killer tracks there, and once again, he's doing a very good job kind of coming through in the first verse of this tune and making an impact, definitely. And I think the main thing that I noticed about this track was just kind of the dark, brooding atmosphere and how it manages to fit with the flow of the album, but still bring something completely fresh. And it just seemed like turning the page, getting something new, really enjoying what's in front of your eyes, and then we move on to something completely different. And the next track right after it is just another something out of left field that I never would have expected from Beyoncé. And I think it's one that I mentioned early on in this review, Daddy Lessons. It's talking about kind of the struggles that she faced with her father, who was her former manager, kind of brought her up through her fame in her early years. She actually fired him, I think it was about a decade ago probably at this point. They had a falling out. They've kind of mended fences since then, but this seems to be a song about how she was under a lot of pressure to do a lot of things, and there's a lot of interesting metaphors here that make this song completely worthwhile. A folk song with a catchy as hell acoustic guitar that just sounds great and an awesome bass line on a Beyoncé track. Yes, I will take more of that, please. Daddy Lessons is one of my favorite songs on this record, and I think that what I really enjoy here is just that organic and raw, visceral feel that I'm getting from the track and the musicality surrounding it. And that makes me get to another point that I wanted to talk about, Freedom with Kendrick Lamar being a track that just has an awesome bass line on it. And I love just being able to jump from track to track and see, yes, okay, I like what they did with the drums there. Okay, the keyboards, they came in here, and there was some guitar that shaped up this track. And I'm saying this about a pop album, something that manages to branch out. And we saw this earlier in the year with Rihanna, tackling tracks that you would not necessarily have seen her on. In fact, there was a Tame Impala cover, and I like that Beyoncé is almost kind of following suit, bringing in a lot of guests from the rock, indie, even pop world, everyone from The Weeknd to UK singer James Blake to, of course, the legendary Jack White. And it's just awesome. I think that we get to a turning point whenever we get to Ford, sung by James Blake, and it's kind of a moment about letting go, moving on to the next thing. You know, maybe my mind will be a lot more at ease if I actually forgive and forget. I can't totally forget, but I'm gonna try my best, and that's when we get All Night. Just kind of like a closing symphony, if you will, to the whole story that we've seen our protagonist Beyoncé kind of go through in this story that she's telling. And it's one of those tracks that sees a little bit of jealousy in the eyes. We saw that on SANDCASTLES, talking about throwing down the picture, scratching out the bitch's eyes, and I loved how just manic her vocals were on that one. But now she's letting go of that grip a little bit, saying, you know, I don't know how I'm going to be able to trust you again, but we're going to work it out and things are going to be okay. Me and my baby, we're going to make it. Before we get to my thoughts on the final song, which was released as the first single back in February around the time of the Super Bowl, Formation, I did want to add in a few thoughts on the track with Kendrick Lamar. Freedom, definitely an empowering song. Of course, coming from Kendrick Lamar and Beyoncé, two people are black rights activists and are very outspoken about what they think. This is just fantastic to see them breaking out of the chains, if you will. Something that's said on the song, used as a metaphor, breaking free of the oppression that they feel that they still have on them. And it's definitely still a problem, unfortunately, in the world that we live in. Racism is alive and well, and people like Kendrick Lamar and Beyoncé are saying that they want to be remembered for things like that. In fact, Kendrick directly references this on his track. He wants to see that engraved on his tombstone because that's how much he believes in what he's fighting for. Now, circling back, we get to the album's closer, Formation, which if you guys follow me on Twitter, you probably know that I was not a fan of this song at all. In fact, I hated it whenever it was first released. Not because of the questionable message that it sent out that a lot of people just did not seem to approve of. I don't personally think that it was meant to start riots about police brutality and racism and that sort of thing. It's trying to bring attention to certain things, but the main reason I hate this song is because of its terrible and just downright awful, I should say, lyrical content and its production. I cannot stand it. In fact, the musicality of this track just sounds weird. The synth tones here are just grating on my nerves, and the way that they sound, it sounds like somebody bending back a spring and launching it forward and just hearing a recoil all throughout this song, and it's annoying as hell. The lyrics here are just razor thin. In fact, they're pathetic in places like hot sauce in my bag, swag, and then saying I slay after like every line. What is this? Like reading through a Tumblr post of a 13-year-old girl? I guess if you can get past some of the grating synthesizers, the musicality of this track is kind of catchy and I don't completely hate it. I dismiss it on a lyrical level. I think the vocal performance is pretty strong and I like that. I like seeing Beyoncé almost rap a little bit, get a little bit faster, and we saw her do that a little bit at the beginning of this record on the track Hold Up. I love that little bar where she speeds things up, adds in the hand claps, sounds fantastic. But on Formation, I just don't really like the message of the track. I feel like it's a little bit too muddled and all over the place to really convey itself that strongly. Being completely transparent, I thoroughly enjoyed this record and I'm kind of mad at myself for almost wanting to shut it down instantly without even hearing it. So glad that I started listening to it, and in fact when I did, I could not stop listening to it. I love everything from the super aggressive track with Jack White, Don't Hurt Yourself of course, to Hold Up, which is more synth heavy, to even Love Drought, which is a very well thought out track that just seems to be about a relationship in danger trying to get through this fog that's appeared. Like, how do we get through this and move forward? And that's a question that I see all throughout, and I think Beyoncé answers a lot of her own questions in that album, and that's something that's really, really cool to hear. I'm not sure how this is going to hold up in the replay department. I know there's some songs that I definitely love here, but then there's some others that I could see myself skipping over in the future. Not that they're bad songs, it's just that I don't find them quite as memorable as some of the others here. But overall, very well done, Beyoncé. Really enjoy this. Loved seeing your journey, hearing the music, and just seeing you taking different steps and following something new. Beyoncé's album Lemonade gets a 4. Well, there you have it, everyone. The first big surprise of 2016 for John from ARTV was Beyoncé's Lemonade. If you guys would like to hear the album, if you have not already, I will hopefully include a link down there so that you can stream it. What did you think of it? If you have heard it, I know a lot of you probably have, and that's why you're here watching this review to see what I thought of it. Yeah, very surprised, very taken back by it. Don't forget to smash the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because friends don't let friends go unsubscribed. You can click directly below me, those little annotations there. If you'd like to see the last review that I did on this channel, please do. Not that many of you guys saw it. Or you can check out another album that you might enjoy. So thanks for being here. subscribing to the channel, and I will see you guys very, very soon right here on ARTV.